Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. I am Joe Concha. Well, the Obama administration has been working with Iran to come up with a deal that the president believes will help secure the Middle East. The Associated Press reporting that while discussions are ongoing between Secretary of State John Kerry and representatives from Iran, the basic deal includes limiting Iran's nuclear power development for 10 whole years. But then the idea would be to reward the mullahs for good behavior over the last years of the agreement, because we, of course, know they're going to behave themselves, thereby lifting constraints on its uranium enrichment programs and easing economic sanctions. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, not happy, as you can imagine, over the talks. He believes, like the rest of the world, Iran is still secretly working on its nukes program.
העובדה שאיראן ממשיכה בפעילות טרור שהיא רצחנית, חובקת גבולות, חובקת אזור, חובקת עולם, לצערנו לא מפריעה לקהילה הבינלאומית להמשיך ולשוחח עם איראן על הסכם גרעין שיאפשר לאיראן לבנות יכולות תעשייתיות לפיתוח נשק גרעיני. תמוה שגם אחרי שבסוף השבוע דוח הסוכנות הבינלאומית לאנרגיה אטומית קבע שאיראן ממשיכה להסתיר את המרכיבים הצבאיים של תוכנית הגרעין שלה, נמשכות איתה שיחות הגרעין.
Everybody get all that?
We really
Hope everything went well in Hebrew school.
Couldn't agree more.
Carl Higbee.
Yeah, whatever he says, right?
So here's the thing about Iran, is that these clowns have been going on to try to get a nuke for a long time. They're going to get one eventually, all right? Sanctions, talks, everything like that, they look good on the surface, but the bottom line, they slightly hinder it, but they don't stop it. And I'm not worried about the guys who have a million nukes like Russia or us or anything. I'm worried about the guy who's got one nuke, because he's got one nuke, he's going to use it. And you know, Bibi said a couple really important things, not then, but he said if we were to lay down our weapons today, Islam would take over. If Islam were to lay down their weapons today, there would be peace. And that's why I have such great respect for the guy. And we really should listen to him when it comes about knowing the ideology of this Iranian government.
Yeah, Heather, I mean, the Iranian government has said publicly that their number one objective is to wipe Israel off the map. So how could we ever allow them to get a nuclear weapon?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Eric Cantor had said that we should mistrust and verify, paraphrasing President Reagan, where he said trust and verify. And it seems to me that under this deal, we're trusting, and we don't even have anything set up right yet for verifying. So I think a lot has to be thought out. Another meeting next Monday. But we need to know a lot more about this deal before we agree to it.
Rick, there's obviously a political aspect to this, and perhaps legacy for President Obama saying that, hey, see, I was able to make a deal with the Iranians, and that's part of my foreign policy legacy. I mean, this doesn't live in logic, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm just trying to remember who Eric Cantor is.
He's the guy who got beat by someone who spent less money on steakhouse.
I remember that name. Look, you know, I don't understand why everybody is so sure they know what's in this agreement. Nobody really has any idea what's in this agreement. If it's really a 10-year deal that just basically puts it on hold, then I'm not going to like it either. I'll be a little bit surprised if that's the case. So I think we have to wait. Secondly, you know, that was a great line that Netanyahu gave. That's a terrific line. The problem is that we learned today from the Mossad that when Bibi stood in front of the UN with his Boris Badenov drawing of a bomb, that he was lying to the world.
How?
Mossad says is that everything he said about what the Iranian policy was and what they were doing was wrong. That they weren't as far along as Bibi says, that they haven't been spending the time on developing a weapon that he said. This is the Mossad talking, not the CIA or whatever.
So, Carl, you think this is a bluff? In other words, in Iraq, Saddam tried to at least give the impression that he had weapons of mass destruction,
right,
because that kept, obviously, Iran at bay, and it kept the Sunnis at bay, or excuse me, the Shiites that were obviously the enemy. Right, the perception was enough to repel people.
But it ultimately ended up with us going in there and, you know, throwing them out of power and marching through Fallujah in 4 days.
I don't think you believe we were ever going to do it.
Right, but that's the thing. And the thing with Iran is, short of military action, who are we to say you can't develop stuff in your own country? Because you would need a military intervention to truly verify. Well, that's it. And that's what it is. And the problem is we're not in a position to tell them legitimately don't build nukes without going in there and overseeing it.
So what do we do?
That's a good question. It's above my pay grade. But if it was me, I would send at least the diplomatic level in there right now to say, let me see your facilities. They're not going to show you everything.
But we can't count on the UN to do it. I mean, we saw what happened in North Korea. So somebody's got to do it, and I agree with you that that's probably the best way. When we know more about this, we'll have a better idea. It seems as though we can't be giving all the concessions, especially because they've given us no reason to trust them.
Right. I buy all of that. The problem is we don't know that we are. I don't know why everybody's rushing ahead of this. Look, when the deal is announced, if a deal is announced, then we can all criticize it if it
But how many
deserves
times have they
criticism.
stuck to any deal they've ever had in the
Well,
past?
that's
That's the
also
problem.
a
That's
fair,
the
fair
problem.
thing. But taking your point, Carl, and I think you were incredibly honest and forthright with it, what's the difference? What have we got to lose?
That's true, and
But
I
we
think
have to try.
I think the retaliation we should have at the next step should include some sort of military operation if they do violate this.
If
new
they
agreement.
violate.
Last resort, but Heather, you make a great point because if we remember from the movie Team America, Hans Bricks went into North Korea to inspect their
we're
facilities,
not.
and then he was flushed down
That's
a,
where I
a
got
tube
that
and eaten by a
idea.
shark. I'm just saying. Anyway, coming up next in English, not Hebrew, it's potluck time. This is the Daily Wrap only on Newsmax TV.